One of them is a relatively simpler one, the Labrador Retrievers. So take a look at that one, just the stimulus, and then we could talk about it a little bit and see if you could looking at this question, section 2, question 2, what's the flaw in your own mind? How you articulate it? Just think about that for a moment. So anybody have an idea on how to articulate this flaw or why it's flawed if you happen to notice that there is, in fact, of course, a flaw here? So we've got someone sharing in the chat here. Awesome. Part to whole. Good. Yeah, I'd say definitely relates to part to whole. Relates to the idea of the middle ground here, that the average of two things must be perfectly in the middle. So let's say that you had a mix of something sweet and something salty. Would you view it as being perfectly even or average of the two? It probably wouldn't be. It would be salty and sweet. Like let's say chocolate covered pretzels are both salty and sweet, but they're not like the average of the two and kind of tasting bland, right? So same here, Labrador Retrievers bark a lot, St. Bernards don't bark a lot, therefore mix will be moderate. Maybe you'll end up with a mix that barks a lot, but like Labrador does, but looks like a St. Bernard. You have no idea how the actual characteristics or traits of the dogs will uniquely mix when you mix the two together. So perfect. I think part to whole is a good way to frame it. I think you have a good understanding of that one. So the process here that we want to use for any flaw question is to read the stimulus and articulate the flaw for ourselves, and then look for a description of the flaw in the answer choices. Now, for a parallel flaw question, we do the same steps as we would do for any flaw question, but the next step is to actually look for the answer choice exhibiting the same flaw. Now, of course, a parallel flaw question like this is going to be pretty lengthy. This takes up half the page. It's several different arguments. But once again, I wouldn't necessarily skip this one, though, just because it is on the easier side. It is a number 2. And so the flaw will be rather simple, as this one is. So I'd say it shouldn't take you too long to at least ID the flaw and then scan through the choices looking for similar. Anybody happen to look at the choices here and have an idea of what the correct answer might be? Awesome. Yeah, a couple folks got it right off the bat. B, perfect. So B saying that the mix of something toxic and non-toxic will be moderately toxic, perfectly in the middle. Now, of course, if you drink a mix of poison and water, it's not going to be moderately poisonous. The poison will still poison you just the same. The water will not necessarily dilute it in any way. The poison is still present just the same. So again, the characteristics, we don't really know exactly what the mix of them will end up manifesting like. Very good.